Hello, I'm Ed Raby, also known as the Rabid Atheist, former pastor turned atheist, now compassionate anti-theist. Welcome to my channel. You are free to like or dislike the video, so please feel free to hit those buttons. Feel free to comment below, and I would appreciate it if you would subscribe to the channel and hit your notification bell so that you will get notified as more content is released. You're also free to share my videos as much as you like. I'm trying to build a channel, and today is talking about week 3 of the channel, and I have been uh, kind of busy working on some things, and some things have changed, and I need to go over some of that. But I do want to give a little channel report real quickly. I'm up to 7 subscribers, which is 2 more than last week, and I'm up to 21 hours of watch time. Got a long way to go before monetization, but at this point, monetization is not so much the point as this becoming a good pulpit for my viewpoints, and I kind of missed that. And YouTube has definitely given me a chance to have a good pulpit again. Today, on Fridays, I usually address comments, or comments have a way of directing the content. And I've had this comment, this first one. I'm going to deal with some of the more minor comments first, and then I got a bigger one that I'm going to deal with that came from a friend. The first is some of the minor comments. Do you use a script when you talk? Because you seem to be pretty smooth and you go from one thing to another. And God, I'll probably screw that up today sometime, but depends on what you're talking about when you say script. I have used a script on this channel a couple of times. If you go back and look at my 4 theological objections to Christianity, what you're going to see there is me, I think in videos 2, 3, and 4, I'm reading, for the most part, a good chunk of that is read from my blog, The Gray Wayfarer, where I've written about my 4 theological objections to Christianity, and they're right there as well. So there's that aspect of it, and I did read part of that, but a lot of that's changed because I've changed a little bit of my own viewpoint. Plus, it's also evident, though, that I added a few things in that. Most of the time, however, what I do, in fact, I'm kind of looking at it as the screen for today, I do what I would call a sentence outline, or an outline of basic points that I want to cover. I have a kind of idea in my head with each one of these, what I'm going to say, and I just need kind of a reminder of what I need to move on to next. And so I write that down, and then I just talk about it. 20 years as a minister. During that time, I preached, I taught. After a while, you kind of get used to speaking in public, and this really isn't all that different, other than I'm getting in front of a camera, which actually makes it in some ways a little bit easier. There's not that nervousness of being in front of people, which I experienced all the way up to the end of my ministry, that little tinge in your gut until you get up and start getting going and start talking. But I do use a script when I feel I want to word something very specifically, and other times I just use a sentence outline or just talk. Somebody else asked me about my social media links. I'll put those in the description, but there is a Facebook page called The Rabid Atheist. It doesn't have a lot of followers right now, but I'm now putting that out there. I'll put that link down in the description too, so you can get that. Another social media link of mine that's utilized by the public is at Raby. It has a picture, I believe, of Odin on there, and that is more my author page for my blog, The Gray Wayfarer, and that's also one of my little pet projects that I keep working on from time to time. It's more of a journal, personal journal for me, but I do write about things that I'm thinking about every other day or so, and you can get a little bit more inside my head, because when I write, I have a tendency to reveal a little bit more of what's inside and what I'm thinking. And so that's there for you as well. So those are the first 2 easy questions. This third comment is much more longer. It comes from a friend and a former parishioner. And the content of the comment was such that I felt, I need to address this a little bit more publicly, because other people might have some of the same concerns if they're Christians and viewing what I said on Monday. Monday's video, I knew was going to be a little bit controversial, but I needed to say it because the content of that video was about some of my understandings, some of the things I've been challenged on recently with this channel by people in person usually or whatever. And I am just kind of going forward knowing what some people's objections would be, and I put forth a challenge to Christians to come at with me with something new. And so I want to address this comment. I'm going to break it up piece by piece so that I can kind of break it down and react to it. This is a little bit more reactionary, so don't expect, polish here like I was using a script or even an outline. I'm just reading the comment and giving what I consider a good reaction to it. A little bit off the cuff, but not completely. I've read the comment a couple of times, and I do know kind of how I want to respond. But I'll read the first part. It says, in your section on motivation, you say people need to educate themselves before approaching you because you don't want to waste your time explaining things over and over again. I do say that, but my main motivation is not just that I won't waste time, but so that anybody who's a Christian doesn't waste their time either. My point with that is this. I think, and this reflects the absolute atrocious state of Western Christian apologetics these days. If Christian apologists were actually worth a crap, I would probably still be a Christian if they actually had some good, convincing, rational, and arguments with good evidence, but they don't. Most of apologetics, when it comes to atheism, is quite frankly crap. It's poorly reasoned. They either engage in straw manning the atheist position, they beg the question a lot, they assume the existence of God, or they use scripture verses, which is weird because Christians don't really accept scripture verses. My issue with that part of the idea of Monday's video is I don't want to waste your time either. Okay, I want to hear something new that I haven't heard before. I want to actually be engaged on this issue of faith. It's like I said, I'm not as hardcore, level 7 atheist as Richard Dawkins would say it with, there is no God and there, I don't care what you say. It's more of a level 6 where I say there is really no evidence for a God. There's really no evidence that any of the religions are true, and that includes Christianity. So I'm not trying to say I don't want to waste my time. I'm saying I don't want to waste your time either. Don't, don't assume that I haven't heard the pat apologetical answers that current apologists give. I've heard them and I've thought about them and I find them all to be lacking in any convincing power. We'll just put it that way. She follows up with this. Does that mean that the converse is also true? Am I able to put up walls in my own ivory tower that you are not allowed to scale until you can you know fully and can argue what it's like to be me? Because anything you say might be disrespectful. First of all, my issue is not respect. I never said in that video that I didn't want to be disrespected. My issue with respect is, respect what I know. Don't assume my ignorance. I think probably the greatest issue between atheists and theists is theists spend too much time listening to the ideas of the fool has said in his heart there is no God, or they run to Romans 1:20, 21. They really believe in God, but they're denying it because they want to go out and sin, things like that. Those are pat answers and they're very disrespectful to atheists. But at the same time, I'm not saying I never made an acknowledgement that I'm in some sort of ivory tower. I have found that becoming an atheist, it's nearly impossible to stay in an ivory tower. However, having been a Christian, I know the ivory tower exists because I used to live there. I used to be a part of that. As for not allowed to scale your ivory tower to know what it's like to be you, I'm not attacking you. I'm attacking what Christians believe and what they understand and what they think they know. I get that religion causes people take religion very personally and very seriously, and so it can feel like I'm attacking you, but I'm not. I'm not attacking you, I'm attacking your ideas. And I'm sorry, ideas are fair game for attack, and that's any ideas. No ideas are so sacred that they can't be attacked. Okay, and that's a to me a rational atheist mantra. You know, you don't, if you want to put it that way in spiritual terms, I don't consider any idea, including my own, sacred. You know, I have to, you know, as an atheist, I have to actually defend my ideas without an appeal to some imaginary authority. I don't have an imaginary authority to appeal to. Okay, I don't have a God or a book to appeal to. There is no atheist guru. There are no atheist prophets or preachers. You know, most of us argue with each other a lot. Maybe that's part of the reason why we don't go forward as much as we could, but we believe in intellectual honesty. So we're not sitting there going around patting each other on the back either. You know, I have a lot of disputes with a lot of atheists who take a more liberal bent on two issues. I'm very libertarian, and so when it comes to things like guns rights and the free market and capitalism, I'm much more on the side of those things than any liberal is, and I just don't go down that path. That's me personally. As for what it's like to be you, I used to be a Christian for 40 years. How would I not know in some ways what it's like to be you? I'm not asking you a question about what it's like to be you as a person. I'm asking you what it's like to be you as a Christian. I know what it's like to be a Christian. I used to be one for 40 years. I absolutely know what it's like to be you. And you have to prove that I don't. Okay, that's the burden of proof on that one is you, that I don't understand what it's like to be a Christian. I'm not talking about like you as be a Christian person. That's just nobody can really know what their personhood is like except for themselves. And I would consider anybody that was making an argument along those lines to be kind of ignorant. I'm not saying you're ignorant with this comment. I'm just saying you need to think about that. I'm attacking Christianity. I'm not attacking any person in Christianity. I'm saying the idea of Christianity, the idea of belief in God, is just not supported by evidence. Okay. Um, Regarding your challenge, the reason for my hope is personal and experiential. I want to stop right there. Here's the thing with personal experience as an argument for your religion or for your God. It probably means a lot to you. As a defense of the faith, it's nearly useless. In fact, it is useless. Okay, when we're talking about the truth claims of the Bible, for instance, we'll use that as a for instance. The Bible claims that Jesus walked out of the tomb. Historically, it's a historical fact. That has nothing to do with your personal experience. Personal experience only proves your faith to yourself. It does not prove it to the rest of the world. I know this person that I'm addressing right now to the rest of you, and I'm talking to you too. I know you want to be a minister of some sort. Okay, understand that part of being a minister is defending your faith, defending the resurrection. The absolute central pivotal core of Christianity is the resurrection of Jesus Christ. If you can't defend that as a truth and as a historical fact, you have absolutely no basis for your personal experience. I get that the reason for your hope is personal and experiential. I get it. But that is not a defense of the faith. That is a defense of your personal faith, but it is not a defense of Christianity and never will be. And Christianity makes some very bold claims that it thinks everybody should follow. And a lot of people do. And in my opinion, you waste a lot of your time, your talent, and your treasure pursuing something that is untrue. And whether it's personal or experiential is irrelevant, okay? Because what you're saying is, I don't care what the facts and evidence are about my faith. To me, it's personal and experiential. so therefore I'm going to do it. Not trying to be rude here, but couldn't a Buddhist say the same? Couldn't an Islamic person say the same? Couldn't a Jewish person say the same? Couldn't a Hindu say the same? Couldn't somebody who follows Shinto say the same? When you look at all religions, personal experience is a tough thing to get over with people when you're talking with them about atheism, but as an apologetic, as a defense of whatever faith or religion it is, it's absolutely useless because truth claims cannot be based on people's personal experiences. They just can't. Okay, and you're making the assumption that my personal experience is what led me to my atheism too, and that's not true. I would never defend my atheism based on my personal experience. My personal experience about that is irrelevant. Okay, my issue is the evidence for Christianity, the evidence for the Bible, and the evidence for God. I find all of those things to be lacking in anything that's convincing. I don't even think there's a reasonable doubt in some cases that some of the stuff that is claimed by those three things is false. So you have to do a little bit. I'm challenging you as a potential minister. You want some. I remember when you were in my church, you were asking for some mentoring. Here's a little bit of mentoring from an atheist to you. Learn to defend your faith. Because if you can't defend it other than personal and experiential, I hate to break the news to you, that's not going to be good enough when you're counseling people about their faith if they're having challenges to their faith, like I did. That's not going to be very good for you. I'm trying to help you out here. Don't bring forward the argument that it's personal and experiential and say that that's your only defense, because if that's your only defense, it's a poor defense. Okay, it's an absolutely lousy defense. Okay, and I would say that as a Christian. My apologetics instructor in Bible college would have called that garbage. Okay, and he was a Christian. He would have said that's a garbage. That is crap. He would say that that's crap. Okay. Your personal experiential is crap. Okay, because it doesn't have any evidence. I'm not saying that you're crap. I get it. Once again, religious people have a tendency to take attacks on their religion as personal. It's not personal. I'm attacking your ideas, and I have every right to do that, especially when certain members that follow your ideas want to force them on me, or they want to make baseless claims about me, in the name of those things. Okay, I think I have every right to defend myself and to attack their position based on that. While I'm not as educated, I have the ability to understand while respecting your right to believe what you believe. I wish I could answer your question. Well, I thank you for that. But I don't believe anything. That's a misnomer that most Christians have, that I believe there is no God. It's like saying I believe there is no leprechauns. I have a belief that there is no leprechauns. No, I just don't believe in leprechauns. And those are two very different statements if you think about them. When I say I don't have any active belief in God, that's not a belief that there is no God. That's a belief. There is no belief there. Okay, I don't know how else to explain it, but if you don't believe in the tooth fairy, it's not that you believe there is no tooth fairy. Okay, it's you just don't. And people don't get that epistemological distinction. And when you're looking at knowledge and what people know and what they say, atheists are saying they're either saying there is no God or there isn't enough evidence for God. There is no belief statement. I'm not saying I believe there is no God. Okay, I would never put it that way because that would be a misnomer. I'm glad you wish you could answer my questions. I wish you could answer my questions too, because there are a few things I miss about my faith. I miss the absolute assurance that my position is right. I miss the thought that I might see some loved ones that I miss again. Those are all great things, and they're great motivators to stay in faith, but at the end of the day, I've got to deal with truth. Okay, to me, the virtue of truth kind of kicks in, and you look at it and you go, no, just not there. But I feel that even if I could, you would still call my answers crap. No, I wouldn't. My challenge is simply don't give me something I've already heard. Now, I understand that you can't really know that unless you ask. And so I encourage you to ask. If you don't know what I know and you're kind of probing, that's fine. But once you know what I know, don't give me that again. Okay, don't come at me with that again because I've already made up my. Unless you got a new wrinkle on it, okay. Um, you know, it's not about whether people say stupid things to me. It's not about whether I'm smarter than anybody else. Um, I do group Christians together in the standpoint of their belief. All Christians have certain beliefs, or they're not Christians. I mean, my last church was very what I would call truly fundamentalist in the sense that it got down to the fundamentals of what Christianity is. And you can break it down to the counter of all my four theological objections. There is a belief that the Bible is somehow the Word of God. You have a belief that there is a God and that man somehow sinned, and that because of that sin, Jesus Christ came and forgave those sins. And if you accept Jesus Christ, that allows you to go to heaven, and if you don't, you go to hell. That is 90% of evangelical Protestant Christianity. Okay, I'm not sitting there grouping together Christians by their values. I'm grouping Christians together by their belief system. And there's a great difference. Okay, there's a very great difference. I understand that Christians have, like I said, I think this comment doesn't, once again, you're kind of falling into the trap that I was trying to point out to you on Monday's video. Do you not think that I haven't thought about the fact that Christians are different? Do you not think that after 40 years of being a Christian and being a pastor and getting a Christian education, that I haven't thought about the fact that Christians have different values and that there's different stripes of Christianity? Of course, there's different stripes of Christianity, and there are just, but I'm not grouping you together based on that. I'm grouping you together based on your common beliefs. And if your common beliefs, such as the resurrection of Jesus Christ, the cross, whether God created the earth, if these basic beliefs can be challenged and proven false, the various shade of values don't matter. Okay, that's the issue here. Um, if somebody can prove you have to prove that God exists. Okay, that's not yelling at you about your values. That's yelling at you about what you believe your values are based upon, and that's a big deal of difference. Are you not perpetuating the us versus them idealism? Um, not trying to be rude, but life is us versus them. Unfortunately, tribalism is inherent to the human race. However, I would say that I'm simply responding to an us versus them that I didn't start, other than I became an atheist. And by becoming an atheist, I literally have people now that hate my guts. There are literally people around the world because I'm an atheist that will kill me because I'm an atheist. I know this because it happened. Now, I understand that there are parts of the world where Christians will be killed. There are parts of the world where Islam people will be killed. There are parts of the world where every ideology has come under the gun. But us versus them exists. And, Christianity in the United States in particular has been the big dog for so long. Whenever they lose some of their privileges, they consider it persecution. I saw this when I was a Christian in the church. I would oh, we're being persecuted. No, you're not. You just lost a privilege here that you used to have, and now they're saying that every religion can do that. It's like when all of a sudden, I remember, I think there was a story where some Islamic students wanted to study the Quran and create a Quran study group in school. Christians had a fit. And somebody pointed out, well, but you have your Bible studies. Why can't they have the Quran Bible studies? You have your little prayer group. Why can't the Wiccans have a prayer group? And all of a sudden, it becomes very understandable why we have a secular society and we're not supposed to establish a religion. And the best way to handle that situation is just keep religion out of the discussion in the public schools. Just keep it out of there. It's probably a better way to go for everybody concerned because once one religion gets power, it can be a problem. And Christians push their own agenda. I'm sorry, we're in the shadow of the State of the Union address by Donald Trump here in 2020. I heard some of the stuff he says is very Christian nationalist. Okay, and I oppose Christian nationalism. Okay, I just do because I think it's dangerous for everybody involved, including Christians. Eventually, you're going to get a backlash where not only do you lose your privilege, you're going to end up backwards because people are going to be fed up with your garbage, okay, of opposing stuff upon you. The us versus them is there. I didn't create it. I'm just living with it. As far as whether I'm perpetuating it, no, I don't think so. Um, I think it already exists. I'm just the latest combatant. Okay, I'm just here. Um, the rest of the comment is interesting too. Or is it the Viking mindset of my way or the highway because I'm a virtuous conqueror of any might who accept my challenges? Humorous. I love it. I understand it was made probably with a lot of different seriousness because I do, on the Great Wayfarer, take a very Viking, Norse mythology kind of theme to that blog. And okay, when it comes to my own Viking mindset, I'm a follower of Asa Thru's virtues, and that's it. Okay. I study some of the other Viking philosophy and things, but first of all, the Vikings weren't my way or the highway. What Vikings often did when they had disputes is there's a lot of democracy in Viking society. The Thing, for instance, is a democratic action where the chief proponents, the leaders of the Vikings would get together and discuss issues and vote on issues. So that's not necessarily a my way or the highway, but it's not a conquest mentality either. Um, a lot of it was just survival. The Viking society grew, it had a bigger population than it could support in Scandinavia, so they spread out. This is pretty much no different than anything that a lot of other people did. They just had an ideology that said that valued strength and valued some other things. They valued courage, they valued other things, and that's going to come into conflict with people that don't. That's just true, but it's not my way or the highway. I'm far more, I'm not interested in conquering anything. I'm just challenging Christians to say, listen, if you're going to come up to me and say you have a reason that I may not have considered why I should come back to Christianity, I'm challenging you on the grounds of you better have something new because I've already considered a lot and I've already gone over some ground. Save your time, save mine, and don't assume stuff. Okay, assume that maybe I know. Okay, unless it's truly something new. I do not examine because you're not asking out of genuine interest in my values. I'm not interested. You're right. I'm not interested in your values. I'm interested in your reasons of why you believe in the resurrection, just as a historical event. I'm interested in your reasons in believing why the Exodus is a literal historical event in the Old Testament. I'm interested in your reasons why you believe the Bible is true. I'm interested in your reasons why you think a person who believes in God is more sensible than a person that doesn't. Those have an effect on values, but values are different for each person. So I guess you're right. I'm not interested in your values. And the fact that you would put it that way is very interesting. It's almost an attack on my values and character. It's almost, I'm going to be blunt here, this whole last part is almost a backhanded ad hominem attack. And I didn't do that in my Monday video. I challenged Christians to come up with something new that would defend their faith. Okay. And, I used to be there. As far as a genuine interest in your values, as a Christian, how would I not know, as a former Christian, how would I not know what your values were? I know what those values are. I know what a lot of those values are. I used to preach them. You heard some of those sermons. I'm not interested in your values. I already know what they are. What I'm interested in is good, rational reasons of why I should A, believe in God, B, believe in Christianity, and C, believe the Bible. Those have nothing to do with values. That has everything to do with historical, verifiable fact. You know, I like this last part. You are throwing out the gauntlet. I don't want to fight someone I respect. I thank you for that you respect me. But I'm going to have to ask you a question. If you really believe that Christians are going to hell, or that people that don't believe Christianity are going to hell, how is it respectful or loving not to warn them or find some way to convince them to get back on the right path, including me? I pray you'll find the answers you seek and that kindness will surround you and overwhelm you. Thank you. Except for the prayer part. Um, I don't really believe in prayer anymore. I don't really believe that any of it is worth my time. I think on a personal level, my atheism took a more personal bent, I guess, when I realized that prayer was talking to myself. And that's just true. And one of the big issues for Christianity, and one of the things I think they also have to rationally prove to me there's a difference between what you say is prayer and talking to yourself. Prove it. Once again, I'm not interested in your values. I'm not interested in what your personal experience is, because anybody can have values and anybody can have personal experiences. What I'm interested in is, what are your rational reasons for believing there's a God? What are your rational reasons for believing the Bible is true? What are your rational reasons for believing Christianity is true? And please don't tell me something that I have already heard. Okay, if it's out there and an apologist has talked about it, there's a fairly good chance I've considered it and I dumped it in the garbage, because I'm going to once again reiterate, I think the state of modern apologetics in the Western Christian church is atrocious. They're not answering the questions that people are actually asking, and probably haven't done so for a while. They continue to hold up, I don't care what anything says. I'm going to stick with this book. I'm going to stick with my faith, and I'm going to stick with my belief in God. And when you enter a debate with that mindset, you are definitely in a flippin' ivory tower. You're definitely in your own echo chamber, and you're not willing to listen to anybody, particularly the atheists, because you think they're foolish and you think, oh, they really know there's a God, they're just denying his existence because that's what your holy book tells you. No. No, there's plenty of responses to those two questions already. Go look at them on the internet and realize how bad. I'll connect one of the ones that irritates me is when people use Romans 1:20 and 21 against me. And Apologia has a great video on why that's not a good idea for Christians to do, and I'll link that above in a card. I think it's worth a look by any Christian before you decide to head down that road. All right, well, this video is probably a little bit longer than normal. I want to thank you for sticking around to the end. Your comments are always appreciated, and I thank this person that I addressed a lengthy comment for taking the time to comment. I know that was a difficult thing to write. I think a lot of what you're saying doesn't make sense given the fact that I used to be a Christian for 40 years, and I did have those personal experiences and all this other stuff. It obviously wasn't enough, so why is it enough for you? That's a good question. And I wasn't on Monday being aggressive in the sense that I was attacking Christians personally. I'm saying, listen, you got to defend what you believe. A good apologist defends the faith. And every minister at some level has to be an apologist. They have to have good reasons why they believe their faith. Well, give them to me, because I haven't found any. And don't assume that I haven't heard. If you come up with it, go look it up to make sure it's something new. I'm looking for something new. My challenge to Christians is just give me something new. Don't give me the same old tired arguments that I've already considered and dismissed. That's all I'm saying. All right, once again, welcome to my channel. Thank you for stopping by today. Comments, as you can see, always have an influence in determining the content of Friday's videos, and I will respond to them when I can. A little bit note about the videos and the upload schedule of Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. I'm going to start uploading videos on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday when I have a video to upload. I've changed my work. I used to be working, like 3/4 time hours, so it'd be like 30 hours a week. And so I'd have 3 days off here and there. I'm moving to full-time, so I'm only going to have a couple days off a week to do videos. And I'm going to have to plan those out, have my outlines and all my research done ahead of time so that I can do those. But if something doesn't upload on Monday, Wednesday, or Friday, don't get upset. I'm going to try to have my Friday videos done as close to Friday as I can without, um, sacrificing the time taken to do it. Just a reminder, I don't tolerate name calling in the comments. Be sure to like, subscribe, get your notifications, share the video, do what you do. Once again, this is Ed Raby, also known as Rabid Atheist. I thank you for coming by. Hopefully someday I too can convince you to be a rabid atheist like myself. Have a good day and goodbye.